Oh, hey, Alice. Good making it here at this early hour. We don't normally catch you except in the evenings, but I'm glad you could make time to join us. It's eggs and bakey time. We have some familiar faces. We have the great and powerful William James with us,
Yes, yes, sir.
as well as the great and powerful Cordie Nicole as well.
Mm.
I think both of you have some show dates coming up. You've got August 25th, you said?
Yep. August 25th at the Eighth Room with the Hungry and Dangerous. Shouts to Jordan, my man, and it'll be our first time at that venue. But I went recently to see my buddy's band, the Swell Fellas, there,
Hmm.
and it made me very excited to get on stage there. It's cool vibe. It reminds me a lot of New York City vibes. It's like swanky cocktails, but also like a rock and roll venue. So that should be fun. What about you, Cordie? What do you got coming up?
I don't think. I think most of them will be passed by the time this is out. But we're gonna be at Cobra August 3rd, East Room August 4th. I think Springwater August 27th, and somewhere October 2nd. But I don't know. I don't know yet.
Nice. This
Booking up.
this will be up a week from when we're recording this. So I think most of those dates are still upcoming. Um, you were recently on Banded.
Yes, I can finally talk about that with you now
Yeah.
because the last time I saw you, it was still hush hush. So yeah, it was an incredible experience. I guess if you want, I could tell you the story of how it fell into my
Yeah.
lap.
Fuck yeah,
Yeah.
man.
So last October, and this was so random, Leo, our bass player in Sleeper Signal, he was working with a gentleman named John Luca who was renting the gear for the rehearsals and the auditions for this TV show, which was at the time known as Project Supergroup. And I guess there was some sort of like legal thing going on. Anyway, they were kind of scrambling for contestants in the 11th hour. And so John Luca asked Leo, he said, "Hey man, listen, we got this really cool thing coming up. It's a show like no other. Brandon Jenner is going to be the host. It's like American Idol, but not really. What we're doing is we're taking 25 strangers and grouping them into five different bands and making them compete against one another with singer songwriter producers and, all this jazz." And Leo said, "Man, I don't really think that's my thing. Like, I'm not really interested, but I got a guy for you. His name is William James." He said, "All right, well, like, put me into contact with him." So Leo gave me the heads up. I want to say this was like maybe a Tuesday night or a Wednesday. And he said, "Hey, man, listen, this guy's going to be calling you. Something about a reality TV show. They're interested in having you." And I was like, "Look, man, I'm tired. We just had a long summer of gigs. I'm not trying to freaking go on some show and get a fool made out of myself after working so hard and this and that." He said, "Listen, just hear the guy out." So John Luca calls me, fellow New Yorker. I could hear it in his voice right away. Like, "Hey kid, how you doing?" I was like, "Hey John Luca, I was expecting your call. Fill me in." And he starts talking, and I kind of like rudely cut him off. And I was like, "Listen, man, I'm gonna tell you flat out, if you're gonna put me on some TV show and make a joke out of me, like I'm not fucking doing this." And he was like, "Listen, dude, show up at the Musicians Hall of Fame Thursday morning, do the audition, and we'll chat." So I went. It was funny. I had to go straight to work afterwards. So I had my guitar and I'm sitting there and I'm auditioning, and there's people there and they're, smiling and asking me questions, interviewing me. And then I played a song and they're like, "All right, that was great." And I was like, "Didn't you guys want a cover song too?" And they're like, "No, no, you're fine. You're fine." So I'm thinking at this time, like, all right, they probably need some B-roll footage of somebody who's not going to be on the show, like to just film me walking out or whatever. And I called Leo and I was like, "Yeah, man, like it was kind of cool. Like, the guy seemed really friendly. I don't know what's going to happen." So I'm like 2 hours into my shift at the brewery and I get a phone call from the lawyer and she's like, "Hey, William James." I was like, "Hey, I just got to step away from the bar. Hold on a second." So I go out back and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" She's like, "I heard you did wonderful on your audition. They loved you. So here's what to expect. I'm emailing you over the contract." She just like launched right into it. Right. And I was like, "Whoa, wait." I was like, did I get this?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, kid, you're gonna be on TV." And I was like, "All right, well, send me the contract. I got to look it over." So now I'm freaking out, and I go over the contract. I go over it with Leo, and there's nothing, in there that would like keep me from doing it. It was very plain, straightforward. And so I called her back. I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and do it." And she's like, "Okay, great. We need you moved into the musician's house on Sunday." So this all happened within like 3 days, right?
Wow.
So I was like, "Holy shit." And she was like, "By the way, we still need like a badass bass player. Like, who do you know?" And I was like, "I know the perfect guy." He already said no, though. She said, "Can you close him?" I said, "Give me 15 minutes." So I called Leo. I'm like, "Dude," I was like, "We got to push the music video shit for Raise the Black Flag." I was like, "We have to go on TV, bro. Like, this could change our lives." we're gonna meet so many people, like, and honestly, do not make me do this alone, dude. Come on, I'm scared. Like, I've never done anything like this. Like, I'm gonna be with strangers. He was like, all right, fuck it, I'll do it. He was like, send me the contract or whatever. So then we met at SIR the next morning. We're going over it and we're looking at each other and we're like, do we do it? Do we not do it? Finally, he signs the paper. He goes, come on, sign. We're doing it. I was like, sick. So like 2 days later, I arrived at the Embassy Suites Hotel where we met everybody for the first time. And then they put us in, shuttle vans off to the house in Mount Juliet. And I'm like freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. Like what, like 2, 3 days ago, I was just like living my normal life. And like now I'm with all these people. I'm getting paid to be on this thing. A couple of days after that, they all put us in groups. They wouldn't let me and Leo be in a band together though, which I was like, all right, I get it. They said it would put the other bands at a disadvantage. And I'm glad it worked out that way because we had wildly different
That kind of makes
experiences.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And anything we would have wrote, I would have wanted to keep for
Right,
Sleeper
yeah,
Signal. You know what I'm saying? So to make a long story short, I got grouped in with 4 other phenomenal musicians that were strangers to me. Jacqueline Kenyon, she was our lead vocalist, phenomenal voice, Canadian girl, super sweet, so easy to work with. We had Rob and Sergio, which were a little bit younger than me, I think 23, 24, 25 in that age group. And it was funny because like Rob and Sergio became like my little buddies, right? And Rob I love so dearly, and we quickly found out that we were into all the same stuff, like Green Day and punk rock and this and that. And then we had Molly Rose on the drums, who is one of the best drummers I've ever had the pleasure of working with. She's a professional touring active musician on Broadway. And then we got lucky. We got Wendy Starland as our songwriting coach. And Wendy is the lady responsible for Lady Gaga. And she told me the story about that, and it blew my freaking mind. She was like, when I met Stephanie, yada, yada, yada. I was like, what? This is crazy. So that was cool. And then we just wrote some freaking bangers and ultimately ended up winning the competition.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my story there.
That's awesome, man. It's crazy how quick something like that gets put together.
Oh, it was wild. And it was so much fun. And the people we got to meet and work with, Paul Ebersold was one of the other songwriting coaches. He produced Three Doors Down and a lot of bands from the 90s. And just meeting all these like seasoned veteran musician and songwriters, it definitely made me a better songwriter at the end of the day, because we had these songwriting challenges, right? And it was the first time I wrote kind of like with an objective, a mission to accomplish, like, hey, this is like our anthem, this is our love song, not just kind of like what's spinning in my head, basically, and it was cool. Some of the other bands struggled with their members. I know Leo had some difficulties with his group, but there was not one song that they wrote that couldn't be a single or like a smash hit. I mean, his band was phenomenal. And there was a couple of songs that they wrote that I was jealous of. And I was like, dude, we should keep that for Sleeper Signal. And he was like, we can't.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was freaking nuts. And
yeah, what an experience.
Yeah, it was stressful, being under camera a lot. I started noticing some weird like stress things that were happening. Like my hair started falling out, which was weird. It's finally back, thank God. It's a little patchy in the back, but it was a stress related induced alopecia thing. I had to like come back and go on steroid creams. And, so like weird shit like that when you're just under this constant scrutiny and pressure and hurry up and wait and be there and do this and don't do that. So, it was kind of the first taste of what it's really like to be in like an actual spotlight like that.
Yeah, like mainstream TV. That's like that's a thing.
Yeah, so it's finally out now for free streaming on Access TV, which is exciting.
Go check it out.
Yeah, really exciting stuff. It was a pleasure to work with Brendan Jenner. He was the sweetest, like most kind person I've ever worked with, like as a celebrity, like I never met celebrities before like that. So that was kind of cool. And they treated us really well and they took good care of us and they wanted everyone to have a fair shot. So obviously we'll be working with them going forward. There will be some sort of record contract signed eventually. But a bunch of other members got to move forward as well, which is cool. Unlike shows like The Voice or Idol and stuff like that. So
yeah, that's cool it's a cool way to like bring people up if they're actually like authentic about what they're doing.
Right, exactly.
Well, I appreciate you making time to be here. You're flying out to Brazil tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be leaving tomorrow in the early evening. I got to fly to Chicago, wait a couple of hours, get loose, maybe have a few beers, and then hop on a plane to Sao Paulo, which will be overnight. So think I'm gonna get up early tomorrow, go for a run, tucker myself out, pack up, and hit the road. So that should be crazy.
Have you been before?
I've never been, and quite honestly, I'm scared shitless. I'm going alone. Leo's traveling right now. He was just in the Netherlands, and now he's in Toronto. He's doing tech work with a couple of famous bands. And he was like, dude, super last minute, but this is what you got to do. And I can't be there, buddy. And I was like, what? You crazy? He was like, no. So they got this whole itinerary planned out. There's going to be like radio interviews, TV appearances.
Hell yeah, dude.
There's a guitar company down there that might be interested in endorsing me. That would be really cool. I've never really had anything like that before. And I'll be working with Andre, who's like the leader of our, record label. He kind of runs all of our stuff down there. And I just got word that we got booked for a festival that's being put in the works down there for 2024. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, last time you came on, we were talking about this, like, there's kind of like an alternative rock. I don't know if I want to say scene, like there's a alternative rock following in Brazil, apparently.
Yeah.
Like you guys specifically are popping off.
It goes crazy down there, like, and it's funny because there's such a divide in, like, the language, and like there was like this article that came out apparently kind of like announcing that like I would be arriving, and they spelled my fucking last name wrong. Yeah.
Wait, how'd they spell it?
Story, like Stouri, which is funny because I go by William James anyway, but like it's one of those things where you just gotta like laugh and be like, but that's so cool, like they give a shit.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. And then you'll be back here, you said 25th at 8th Room with Hungry and Dangerous. 8th Room's cool. That's a new thing that's popped up.
Have y'all been yet?
I haven't been yet, no.
You gotta go.
I've seen footage of it, so I'm kind of familiar how it's laid out, but I haven't been.
It was funny. The first time I was there was the last time I went. I've only been once, and it was to see my buddy's band, and it was cool because like they have like a curtain, right? So you don't see the band like setting up or sound checking, and the space is actually pretty big, and the staff there was like really friendly. It's almost like elevated cocktail bar goes like Cobra. Like it's an interesting vibe.
Kind of swank.
Kind of swank. And yeah, it was so fun. My buddy Kevin was there, right? Bro, he was taking off, dude. He was like, yo, Big Will, what's going on, bro? I'm fucked up right now, dude. Let me get you a drink. Like, so like it was like a wild little time. It was like really fun. So
nice.
Yeah.
And then what were your shows coming up after, say, like the 3rd? Because I think you said you got one on the 3rd, but what's coming up after that?
The 4th and the 27th, and then October 2nd.
Okay, yeah. So this will be up the following Thursday from today.
Okay.
Yeah, so check out Hussy Fit as well. A couple of dates coming up in the next couple of months. And then check out Sleeper Signal as well. You guys have both been on the show quite a bit. So I appreciate you coming back. Thanks for being here as well, Cordie.
You put a gun to my head. I don't know what you mean.
Say what?
You put a gun to my head.
Yeah, I did kidnap.
Currently under threat.
To make this happen. There were threats of violence involved. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool to see you and also you coming up, because like the first time that we did the podcast was both of you here, but we were in another place. And that was the first time we met, actually.
Yeah,
you come on the show.
Yeah, that was like last summer, right?
Yeah. And it's just in a year's time. Like I guess for you, like the last month or two has been a huge jump.
Yeah, it's been
like
crazy.
Over the last year, like I've seen both of you come up, and I'm really proud of both of you. You're real artists, and yeah, doing real shit. There's an interesting scene here in Nashville, which I know we've talked about before. I remember like 5-6 years ago, it was a little more like cliquey and segregated kind of. And I'm really seeing like a community come together now, which I think is cool.
I think
you guys both have a big part in that.
I was really pleased to see your last performance when we played together at the East Side Bowl. And it was the first time I saw you with the full band, and you really knocked my socks off. And I was talking with Eric, actually. I was like, man, she got it together. This is great, and you guys were tight, and the songs were fucking good, and you gave that classic Cordie performance. It was pretty badass.
Thank you. That was like the first time I've seen you in probably like a year, and I just see a ton of growth. Like now I'm like, well, how can I like mosh and play my instrument at the same time,
right,
and not fuck up the song? That was lit.
Yeah.
You got to do what I do. You got to study the old early Nirvana footage.
So
Just while you're practicing, be like, somebody hit me.
Yeah, right.
in addition to everything else you're doing, you're also writing new music. Got some stuff coming out later this year.
Yeah. So there's been like some recent changes to the band too. Unfortunately, our original drummer decided that he wants to go a different direction, and I totally respect it, even though he broke my fucking heart. He called it quits with the band, which was a bummer. But as you know, you got to keep trucking, you got to keep on keeping on. So that show that we played together was our very first show with our new drummer, Isaac, who is phenomenal. He's been a professional for 16 years. You know, he's just very good at what he does. You know, he does it for a living. So when he expressed interest into coming to a band that's not really profiting right now, I was like, okay, so he must be serious about taking this seriously, because he's going to be taking some sort of cut. He's going to be missing gigs to do this. So that was cool. I was actually high key nervous about that gig for that reason. And I was like looking back at some footage, and I just remember the headspace I was in. First couple of songs, I was kind of like in my head, like I don't know how this is gonna go. And then like about like a quarter of the way through the set was when I started to loosen up really and start feeling it again. And it was almost like this feeling of rebirth, renaissance, you know, a new beginning. And it gave me hope. And you know, getting that out of the way was freaking cool. And I was actually chatting about it afterwards with Chris Rambo. I don't know, are you guys familiar with Rambo?
I don't think so.
Chris is an amazing man. He works with a lot of artists in the area, specifically with Jax Hollow, who is an incredible guitar player. And she's been having a lot of success too. I believe she's playing at the Ryman soon, which is really incredible. But anyway, so I messaged him the next day. I was like, hey, so like, what did you think? Because we chat like that. He's like, you guys are really solid, man. He's like, every time I see you, like, I'm more and more impressed, this, that, the other thing. And I was like, yeah, I was nervous because, you know, it was kind of our, you know, first date, so to speak, with our new drummer. And he was like, pretty damn good for a first date. And I was like, cool. So that was hit. I think I played guitar really well that night, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I unfortunately missed that one, but I heard that was a great show all around. Everyone was on their shit.
Yeah.
It was like the best Thursday ever.
Best Thursday ever. Thursday's great, man.
They do.
I was at Cobra last night, and I wasn't there for She's Lost Control, but She's Lost Control was going on in the main room. And I was talking with my buddy who's also named Will. We were talking about how like there's like, I'm sure New York has this, I'm sure LA has the like the goth rave scene, which is like a very specific thing. But we were talking about how like when you're in the corporate world, it's like everything, like when you have like a rigid way of life, it's like the underground scene gets crazier.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we were talking about Germany, like there's like some crazy clubs in Germany, and like it is kind of more of like a rigid kind of culture, but then they fucking party hard, like they work hard and then they party hard. And yeah, I know that both of you have experience in the corporate world as well. Do you feel at like your most rigid jobs, do you feel like you've been more like need to express yourself artistically, or like are you more creative and weird when you have like less rigid lifestyle?
I feel like the writing process for me, like not having to be brain dead 40 hours out of the week, it's definitely easier to write without that. But when it comes to like performing and like needing it, I think for me, like any form of stress, whether it's work or my personal life, like if things aren't good, I'm like, I need to go and be on stage and like connect with the version of myself that I recognize.
Yeah, like you lose yourself in the kind
of
of
day-to-day life. Yeah, but when you get on stage, it just like snaps back into place. You're like, oh, everything makes sense right now.
So is it harder to get like that creativity when you're not on like a rigid schedule like that, like when you're not like under pressure to be a normie?
For me, I'm always weird.
Yeah.
You were telling me you like your newest job,
I do like my new job. It's
and that they
fun.
kind of promote being creative. And
yeah, they've got like a studio and stuff in there, so you can like play instruments or paint or whatever.
That's freaking sick.
It's really cool.
I think like alternative like people and like like that way of like presenting yourself is becoming like more acceptable in like the corporate world. Like obviously neither of you guys look like normies, and like I don't think that necessarily holds you back like it would in like this fucking 70s, you know.
Yeah, like for me, like when I was working in my sales jobs, and that was like a lot like during COVID. It was an interesting, I think it showed me, you always consider the what would have been in life, right? Like what if I went this path, So like when COVID was a thing and, you know, I lost my job at the restaurant because everything shut down. I was able to go into the sales job and still work professionally. So when everyone like went to watch Netflix for 12 hours a day, I threw on a suit and tie and I was in an office and meeting with clients still and doing stuff like that. And I was really freaking good at it, but like it really wore me down and it became a distraction from my art. And I kind of just came to this point where I was like, dude, time could be running out. COVID's over. If I'm going to do this, it's now or never. It's time to go full speed ahead. And I took a lot of hits doing that, going back into bartending. I made a lot of moves financially, like with the things that I bought or the places that I rented that I could afford working that sales job, that when I went back into bartending, things got really tight. And I really became like the starving fucking artist for like a hot minute. And before I got like a control on things again, really. But I noticed like when I was working in those sales jobs, like you'd be in this office or you'd be on the road trying to close these deals. And like on my time off, it's still, you're never really done. I was still getting calls from clients and from
Yeah.
my business partner on a Sunday when I'm trying to cut loose and watch the Packers game, talking about the game plan. I'm like, dude, save it for Monday. Cause like right now, like I do not give a fuck, dude. And like, I started noticing for me, it's like the minute that tie came off at the end of the day, the wild man came out. I was partying, I was drinking a lot, I was going out every night, just blowing off steam because I felt so pent up all day. And, as supportive as everyone was in that office, they don't understand the lifestyle. None of them ever lived it. Nobody knows what it's like. And I looked at myself in the mirror one day and I'm like, nothing about me looks the same. I'm living this double life, like a Clark Kent type of vibe, and I just felt like I wasn't being true to myself. So
before Alice got here, we were talking about a birthday party we went to yesterday, and these are like IT guys, and they no one goes that fucking hard though. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like it'd be like that. It'd be like that.
For real.
It is interesting. Like I feel like everyone who's in that world has like an outlet where they're like super extroverted in some way, like going to clubs, going to bars. I'm sure there is the guy who is like, hi, I'm normal, like 24/7. But like it is crazy, like the counterculture it creates of like being in a cubicle, or like not even in a cubicle, but like being in that high collar kind of society creates like a very radical counterculture. It becomes a double life like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, big time. Crazy.
It is interesting. So like now that are you still bartending?
Yeah. Still got bills to pay.
Yeah.
And that's it. I love it though. I love where I ended up, working for a tailgate is awesome. And the people that I work with, like we're all really good friends outside of it. A lot of us are musicians, like my buddy Chris, who plays in the Swell Fellas. We work together and we're constantly talking about our next move musically, or psyching each other up. And he's on the road right now, and like so it's cool. It's like it's one of those things where like if one of us has to dip out to do music stuff, someone else steps up to the plate and like covers them. My boss is phenomenal and we're buddies outside of work, and he really cares a lot about us individually. And so it's a good, healthy place to work, and the money's great. And being on Music Row is such a vibe too.
Yeah.
It's never the same day.
So like being in a much more relaxed work environment with people that are like aware and supportive of what you do. I'm sure you still rage, but like not the way that you maybe did when you were in a sales position.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah. It's like it everything balances out at that point.
Exactly. And I'm working in an environment where I can be myself all the time, and it's celebrated, it's appreciated. Guests that come in for their first time in Nashville, oftentimes we're their first stop because we're right by the Virgin Hotel and the Best Western, all that shit. So like, wow, that's so cool. Like this guy's our bartender, but he's also in a band, and so is this guy. And it's like, that's so Nashville. I'm like, yeah, welcome to town.
Yeah. Last time you were here, along with Gerbil Chris Jackson
Oh
as
yeah,
well. I'm rebranding him to Gerbil Chris.
I'm with it.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, yeah. The more people we get behind on this, we're eventually like gonna get his name changed legally. Like he
Dude,
doesn't have a choice.
I could see it happening.
Yeah. But yeah, you were here with Chris last time, and something you had brought up was when you were working in sales, you wear a pink shirt, which I've thought about this a lot since we talked last time.
Really? And yeah,
Yeah.
the closing color.
Yeah, you were talking about like peacocking, like showing like a way of standing out,
Oh yeah.
and like that's important in like a sales. I work in sales. I also, I feel you on that.
Has it been working out?
I work in storage, which
Okay.
sells itself, so it's not as uptight as a lot of sales stuff.
Nice.
Like yeah, like I work in property management, so it's like I I'm slinging empty space and also just like keeping the grounds. Yeah.
Nice.
So it's actually super chill. I like my job a lot.
Except for that one Sunday where they called you 3 times on your only day off.
Yeah.
Man.
Because someone wanted in on a day they're closed.
Yeah, we may or may not have been severely inhibited last Sunday when I was off the clock and I'm getting work things, which like I actually wasn't supposed to be dealing with that. Like the person that was calling me wasn't supposed to be bothering me about this. It was like pretty mundane thing. So that was irritating. But yeah, it's usually pretty chill. I'm not usually like taking calls off the clock like that.
Yeah.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, but like standing out. What do you do, Cordie, as an artist? A way of like, are there certain things either like he brought up pink shirts, so like appearance things or like attitude things that make you like you specifically think about to stand out as an artist, or even in the
I
workplace?
just kind of run around like a gremlin,
Goblin mode
Yeah,
24/7.
goblin mode 24/7. For a show, if I'm feeling like kind of tired, I'll do like a little chicken dance or something, like kind of like slapping yourself in the face to like calm down, but the opposite. So yeah, I try to do weird makeup and stuff because I think it's a big part of like if you feel like in character and like you feel good about your appearance, then you're gonna do better and you're gonna be more confident.
You both have like a punk rock, very like fuck you punk attitude on stage. It's a vibe. It's a vibe for sure. I really hate that I missed you guys playing together because that would have been a great show, especially a fucking East Side Bowl.
That was a really good show.
Yeah, that I we were talking about that last time you were here, and I think it's a great question. Like what makes you how do you peacock? How do you stand out as an artist? And that's something I've actually carried on talking to other people about too.
It's a good one,
It's a good
man.
question.
You know, especially when you live every day, the way you dress, the way you do your makeup, or the way you present yourself, and this and that. You know, for me, it's like you gotta live the life you want to see yourself living in every aspect. Like some people might say fake it till you make it. I say become that person.
Yeah, like dress for the job you want.
Exactly, dude. Yes. It's like the same way that actors they stay in character, you know, like that's why we got the
It's
crazy
method acting.
Yeah, exactly.
You just become that. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's yeah. And like I know a lot of people like come to town, like I'm gonna move to Nashville to like, get signed and like get my band up. And it's like this is the hardest town to cut your teeth in, not the easiest.
Yeah.
Like because it's very there's a lot of artists. It's very saturated. And you have to do stuff like that. You have to be good at what you're doing and you have to stand out. You have to do both of these things.
I feel like you also have to immerse yourself in the scene and
Mhm.
you have to ask yourself like what can I do for the scene, not what can the scene do for me.
Big time.
Yeah.
Like, I do see artists come into town and they're like, oh, well, that was a huge deal back in this city. I used to sell 250 tickets. And I feel like I reached my cap. So I'm moving to Nashville. I'm like, go back. That's great. Like, you're not going to sell 250 tickets here.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
not right now, at least. It's going to take you years and you're going to have to approach it a totally different way.
Yeah.
You know, that's like a thing that I've often, I sometimes feel guilty about, but you can't be everywhere all the time.
Yep.
You know, that's why I always try to get out to shows as much as I can, but sometimes ain't happening.
Yeah.
You know, that's why when people don't come to a show or whatever and they tell me they feel bad, I'm like, dude, like don't feel bad. Like you've got shit to do too. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like that's life, you know, and you need to have time for rest, you know, and it's, you know, as an artist, like eliminating distractions can be sometimes difficult, or, you know, being the person you have to be at home versus the person you are, you know, on stage or in the studio. You know, it's like, you know, me and all my guys are in committed relationships in the band. You know, some of us have kids. You know, I'm lucky. My girlfriend, you know, she is the only partner I've been with that's actually like supported me like 110%, even in times where it's like really difficult and we have to put our relationship life on hold for things that I have to jump to and go do with or without her, you know, and it's never an issue like that, you know. So it's a weird balance of life sometimes where it's like, okay, and then you have to put the time aside for yourself,
Mhm.
you know.
Are you a messy person? What's your house look like?
Immaculate,
Really?
always been.
Yeah, like I get that vibe. Yeah. What your car too?
As of late, so I got rear-ended a few months ago. Car's finally fixed. And then like 2 weeks after getting it back, some chick fucking like hit my car, like whipping into a parking spot. So I've just been like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, so like it's a little messy right now. It's like filled with like cans of Celsius. Like so I gotta clean it up. But yeah, like traditionally my cars have always been pretty spotless. I don't smoke in my car. Um
You have to have a clean space in order to have a clean mind.
that's
And
exactly it.
I say this being an extremely messy person. Like my car and my room are a fucking mess. That's like a pretty much a standard for me. I keep my like office and my like professional life immaculate, but like not my room. Like I just but like it's something I'm trying to we're on the book club, we're going to be reading about like feng shui soon, and like
Ooh.
the art of cleaning. Like I can't remember.
Is it Marie Kondo?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
lovely.
she's great. Yeah, we're gonna do her book on the book club soon in the next couple of months. But I'm trying to kind of restructure that, because really you can't really do much of anything until you've like set your immediate surroundings
Mhm.
in place.
Maybe I'll do that episode. I own that book and I'm trying to get my life together.
Yeah, I'm excited to read that one because I'm there too. Recently, something we were talking about Sunday is like I have this problem of like taking all of the world's problems on my own, like, and like really I, as much as it irks me, like there's nothing I can do about it. All I can do is like affect like what's physically around me, and that's really all you can do.
Very true.
And I think like setting an example and like spreading that outwards is like that's how you're going to effectively make a change. Like control what you can and like help people around you do that too. Yeah, like we were saying earlier, I think there is like a real community here. Opposed to like pre-COVID, like 2018. I got here in like 2016, and I would say that's when it was most like East Side plays with East Side, and even then it's like these bands play together, then you have like the Broadway crowd, and then the Murfreesboro punk scene, and like these are separate entities, these are separate little cliques. And it is really, comparatively to then, become a lot more of a supportive community. Like Cordie said, you have to be doing things for the right reason. Like, what can I do for the community, not what can the community do for me. We still get like, I don't know, uh, like assholes that aren't interested in like helping each other come up. But that's like when that happens, you're just not going to get very far. Like, no one's going to want to play with you. No one's going to come to your shows, you know.
Yeah. It smells bad.
Trying to take
Yeah.
yourself out here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It like it, I don't know. It's such a cool community, but Nashville itself, like taking, not even looking at the music scene, but like the amount of people coming in to like here, and also I know Austin, Texas is a big one. Like a lot of people are moving there. Um, and like that has its perks, and then it also like has its major drawbacks. Like everything gets more expensive. Like cost of living here has gone up quite a bit in the last several years. So out like I think that is also like that's a bigger issue we're facing as like a nation and as a world. Is shit's getting more expensive. We're kind of the economy is on like a downhill, and things are tight right now. Like one of the biggest memes is like my parents at 30, like buying
Oh
a
yeah.
house, and it's like me at 30. It's like I don't know, like McDonald's or something, you know. But you know, I have a little bit of faith that this is like a wave, goes like this. It kind of feels like things are just going to stay up, but I don't know that that's a realistic trend. I think maybe in like 10 years we'll all be able to afford houses. Like,
Okay.
Yeah, it would be nice to own something
yeah.
other than guitars.
Um,
It's crazy too. You mentioned that, like, like my experience growing up was very well, like, I grew up in a really nice neighborhood. I went to a really nice school in Connecticut and this and that. Like, so I lived like a very cush upbringing. I won't lie, like I was very spoiled as a kid, but my parents' experience, it wasn't like that, dude. My like what my parents went through to give me and my sisters what we had. Like I still to this day have no idea how the fuck they pulled it off. And seeing how hard that they had to work is something that I really, grew to understand as I got older. My mom went from working corporate in New York City to going back into bartending, and she was playing wedding gigs as a means to make money. My stepfather was climbing the ladders in his career and stuff like that. And now they've got it finally set up. They're living their best life. The kids are out of the nest or whatever. And we're doing, our own thing. But I had to learn a lot when I moved out on my own, really about what it's like to not really have everything that you
mm,
want all the time, and what it means to struggle and stuff like that. And
yeah,
it's a really humbling, crazy fucking thing. Not realizing that when I was growing up as a teenager and everything was so easy, my parents were the ones struggling to pull all
yeah.
that off for us.
I
So
I can heavily relate to that. Like, when I was a young kid, both of my parents were business owners, and me and my sister were pretty spoiled. Like, we got to do a lot of cool stuff. And then like I want to say it was like around like 2001, 2002, um, when like things like really started to take like a downhill. Both of my parents' businesses collapsed, and they both each filed for bankruptcy. So like we went from like upper middle class to kind of like lower middle class
mm,
as I became like a teenager. And like but yeah, like even then, like we still our lifestyle didn't change a whole lot.
right.
And I know what you mean about like as a kid, you don't really understand money, like what you don't understand how that works exactly, especially if your parents aren't being like transparent about it, you know?
Oh yeah, I mean, like they would never let on that things were tight and that they were struggling. But late at night when you're in your bed and you hear the arguments,
Hmm.
and you hear the like the normal people adult shit that happens behind closed doors, it's
Yeah.
like, wow, like fuck, that's crazy.
It's like the or one of the like biggest things you can do with your life. Like we're all artists, and that's important too. But like the moms and dads working 9 to 5s, like bringing up kids, like that's um a really like honorable thing to do
Yeah, big
with your
shouts.
existence. Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah. I okay, so hard segue. Do you see the UFO thing in Congress?
So no, and I hope you can fill me in because I've been
Yeah.
seeing the memes, and I've worked back to back doubles at my job as that whole thing was unraveling. And I would just like be on Instagram like, what's snapping off with the aliens? Like, what's all this about? Like,
So some military uh like witnesses to an event back in 2004 brought their what they were describing to Congress. This is like pretty old news if you're familiar with like UFO stuff, but what's a big deal about it is that they like have a congressional hearing about it, like in a very like public way. which a lot of it is still like red tape. They're like a lot of what they were talking about is like, I can't talk about that.
That's so crazy.
It is wild. So basically, this thing was spotted. It's like it's a cube with a field around it that's like semi-visible, like kind of transparent. And like it passed them very quickly, and it has very like sharp movements. Where I've heard it described as like if you had a laser pointer on the wall, is the way this like there's like like what would you call that? When you're making a turn, like there's no momentum like drag. It's just like complete stop, go. Like turning on a dime to a seemingly impossible degree because there's not like the same kind of propulsion, obviously.
Gotcha.
So it's like seemingly like anti-gravity, like it's not using some kind of like combustion propulsion. It's not moving in ways that we understand.
That's freaking nuts.
Yeah. And there have been lots of sightings like this. What's exciting about this is now it's like getting some attention, which it's not like the biggest win ever, but at least they're talking about it. Were you guys aware? We probably talked about this already. There's aliens on the moon. Did you guys know this?
Mhm.
So there's fucking aliens on the dark side of the moon, and I will cite no sources. You can look this up yourself. But like people have with their like independent, privately owned telescopes seen lights. Like
Really?
so the moon rotates at the same speed that the Earth does, so we always see the same face of it, except like not perfectly all the time. So like we'll catch corners of what's on the other side of it.
What?
And people, yeah, private telescopes have caught images of like lights. It looks like a top down of a city. I'll send you some pictures.
Yeah, that would actually be really cool.
Yeah. So also, what was it, like 2 years ago, Elon launched a Tesla into space. You
Okay.
remember this? He launched his car,
Oh yeah, that's
and that
right.
it had a feed coming back to Earth, and we can't see that feed because it's illegal to take images of Earth. And I think it's less about you being able to see the Earth and more about you being able to see what's on the other side of the moon.
That's crazy.
Yeah, real tinfoil hat time. Like I think that we went to the moon back in the day, what, fucking 50s, 60s. And the footage we've been shown is bullshit, but we did actually go.
We talked about this once too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah, like a lot. I think the moon landing footage is bullshit. That's propaganda to make Russia spend all their money getting up there. Like you just want a nice presentation. Um, but we did actually go, and Buzz Aldrin. I don't know how you familiar you guys are with him, but like he's done a lot of interviews. Not a lot, a handful of interviews over the years, and he is on record saying that they found a base on the backside of the moon when they went up there.
That's bananas.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And it's beyond our technology. There's also images on the front side of the moon of tracks, like something was pushed, like some boulders or something, before humans had gone up there. Yeah, they're watching that. Shout out to the band. They watch us from the moon. I just saw last night at Cobra. This is something that's been on my mind, and I like it's weird synchronicity shit. Like I just saw a band called They Watch Us from the Moon. I think they're from Kansas City, but they were fucking awesome. And it's true. They're on the moon, and they're I don't know what exactly they're doing. I think maybe they're like trying to get resources. One theory I have is that they're interested in gold. So it's like, okay, you're trying to get gold off of Earth. Instead of doing that yourself, why don't you create a system where people try to accumulate gold themselves? So it's like you have this competitive society where everyone's trying to get as much gold as they can. And it's like, okay, so now everyone has stockpiled these things. So now we don't have to go get it from places. We can just get it from one place.
Wow.
Yeah, so none of our money is based on gold anymore. And I think it's because we don't have it. I think it's because it's off planet, or it's being stored for some purpose.
Yeah.
That's a lot to unload on you guys.
I mean, dude, it's like the things that they keep secret. We'll never really know. And I recently watched that documentary about the Challenger explosion back in the 80s. Wow, man. If you haven't seen it,
I haven't seen that.
yeah, J.J. Abrams directed it, the guy who did like Lost and
Yeah.
Cloverfield.
You said it's a documentary?
It's like a docu-series. I think there's like 4 or 5 episodes. Yeah, and it was really informative and also heartbreaking. I mean, like those people were such special, individual, smart, talented people with loving families, and they totally rushed it, and unfortunately, it exploded, during takeoff and all that. And but like just the whole idea of the space shuttle program and how that came together was really interesting. And like what a bananas thing. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that wasn't all that long ago that people could take a space shuttle into space and come back, successfully.
Yeah.
Most times. And the cool thing about NASA was like the people that they wanted to start putting on, into space. So like the one, like it was like about the Challenger itself, the big thing was that they were going to put a teacher into outer space. And I'm blanking on the lady's name, but like she became like this American icon, the first teacher, normal person into outer space. And it just was like so crazy how that whole thing kind of unraveled.
It just recently, government scientists are saying, well, it's actually impossible. We can't go to the moon. And it's like, can't or won't? Like, because I'm pretty sure we did. Did you guys forget we did that already? But now, yeah, now they're saying that we can't actually go to the moon.
Huh.
So I don't know if that means that we never did, or they're like, no, you guys, you don't understand. We can't go to the moon. Like, we're not allowed. But they're saying like it's impossible to make a lunar expedition.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what would be like significant about traveling there at this point, if we already know like that there's not really much going on there.
I think we got up there and we walked to the dark side of the moon, and everyone and all the aliens were like, surprise,
Hey.
you found us. Here's what you win. Now you have to do exactly what the fuck we tell you, or we're going to eradicate everybody. So like you're gonna go back down there, and now your governments are going to be extremely authoritarian. Probably Russia, probably China have been up there too, and have cut deals where it's like, okay, now that you're aware of us and you have like the technology to like do certain things you weren't able to before, you're going to have to report directly to us, and you're going to run your society exactly the way we tell you, and there's nothing you can do about it because our technology is way beyond anything you could possibly deal with. So I'm very anti-government, but I think what we're going to find out, if we push hard enough, is that it's like, yeah, like this is out of our hands. We're just following orders. Like we have a boss.
I don't think the aliens are a boss though.
Who's the boss?
I mean, have you seen Scandal?
Uh-uh.
I mean, it's kind of like over the top and there's a lot of drama, but the idea is that like, there's like these secret ops groups and like things behind the president, and that kind of they want the country to be operated this way. So it's not a matter of who gets elected to them, really. It's like, you're going to work for us or we're going to kill everybody you love and you.
Yeah, I mean, the CIA killed Kennedy during a parade in the broad daylight, and they were like, they're not trying to cover this up. They're trying to make an example. It's like letting everyone know we run the show. And not taking credit for it, because obviously you can't take credit for that. But they want to not take credit for it, and everyone still know it was them. Where it's like they're not trying to be subtle. They're like, no, we run the show now. Because Kennedy was trying to defund the CIA, and he had already taken a lot of steps to cut back their ability. And I don't know why this is like such a controversial thing. Like they fucking killed him, and like they had the most motivation to do so. Um, and there's a lot of clear evidence of them trying to cover it up. Now, I have heard the argument that they're not trying to cover up that they did it, they're trying to cover up their incompetence, like how bad they
Mm.
fucked up letting this happen. Like the Secret Service was not on their shit, so they want to cover up how big of like our president got assassinated. We can't, be held accountable for this. But I don't really buy into that theory so much. I think it was an inside job, because he was a pretty radical figure at the time. Kennedy's last public speech, he was talking about how there are agencies within our government, like shadow organizations, that have infiltrated, um, like federal agencies, not the whole thing, but like agents within these agencies that have kind of hijacked it for their own purposes, or like um, for other nations' purposes.
I think you always hear about things like, the whole, the housing market collapse in '08 and all that, and like everything that went down leading up to that. And a lot of it had to do with the FBI kind of looking the other way because they had their hands filled with counterterrorism, stuff, during like, post 9/11 and stuff like that. And like these people were like, hey, they're not paying attention to us. Let's fucking pump and dump this shit out of the housing market. We're going to get away with it. And then boom, America went broke.
Mm.
So it's kind of crazy, like how when an eye, shifts its lens to a different area of something, that's when like something else can go completely wild in another direction.
Yeah, I think this is probably the hardest time in human history for them to keep a secret too, because of the internet. It's like it was way easier to have like cults or have government conspiracy in the 1800s or even like the 50s. Like now it's impossible to keep a secret.
Mm.
Like privacy is constantly, like huge tech companies put a lot of money into anti espionage, like anti like hacking stuff.
Mm.
Security is what I mean to say. They put a lot of money into security because it's kind of a constant battle between like building better firewall, and like you're aware that people are going to try and like infiltrate your firewall. Um, it's a battle of information. Information is extremely valuable. Like people that sell information make a fuck ton of money, and I think we're getting to a point where they can't keep a lid on anything anymore, no matter how hard they try. It's a dangerous, scary, pivotal time in history. I hope that everything works out in the end, but I don't know. I'm not exactly hopeful. Like I'm hopeful, but I'm not exactly. I guess I'm a pessimist when I'm looking at the future.
Well, I think it's human nature that like people can't keep secrets.
Mm,
People love to tell secrets. People love when they have information that most people don't. They'll find a way to tell it, to get it off their chest. Maybe it's like a feeling of guilt or a feeling of anxiety that they got to just like tell somebody about something, in secrecy, and that's how shit gets spread around,
mm.
you know.
Yeah, there's like a human element to that where it's like we like this guy in the 50s was covering up UFO stuff, but like I don't want to do that. Like I know about this now, so I'm not those guys are dead now. So like I'm gonna be the whistleblower and tell these secrets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Or just like decades of carrying guilt, like you said, like,
Mm-hmm.
and then you finally like, what people deserve to know. Um, what what do you think lies in the future, and how do we fix the problems that we have? Because I'll be honest with you, Will, I don't see a lot of like good paths forward. I see a few radical options to um, kind of put things on the right track, but I don't see a lot of peaceful options. It's a big question.
Yeah.
I'm coming to you for answers.
It's weird because I feel like like a tone has been set where there's like almost like no rules anymore. Like
Mm.
nobody gives a shit. There's like society as a whole is, I feel like, has become a very like me, like, you know, I don't know, like there's not a lot of like, I don't, it's weird. Like I feel like nobody like when massive information comes out now, it's like, yo, that's crazy. And then it becomes like an internet meme, and then like life presses on. And it's
Yeah.
like things don't hold weight the way that they might have used to, you
Yeah.
know?
Like Congress is talking about UFOs and
And I didn't
life
even know about
continues.
it. Exactly.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
live in the information age, you know, everything's been done. There's no shock value left to anything.
True.
You know,
Yeah.
we grew up with 2 girls, 1 cup at 9/11.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to put those in the
You
same
can't-
sentence, but like we've seen it all.
Those
and
are
at this point, we're
tragedies of
really,
equal consequence.
no, we're just really desensitized, you know,
Oh
is
yeah.
the thing.
Yeah. The give a fuck meter is like kind of at an all-time low.
And also, we kind of live in a time where it's like it's encouraged to not give a fuck. Like that's for
Yeah.
your mental health. It's like there's books about it and all kinds of things. I mean, you know, I'm not like a radical person. I don't see things that way. I don't think that's the proper path. But I do think that we continually, because of information, we get a little bit closer to everybody seeing things the same way. I was a big Bernie supporter, and I think that that was the closest we've ever gotten to something like that. And I don't think that we should take it lightly how far we've come, because that wouldn't have happened like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're just going to continue to come together as people, and
Mhm.
eventually we're all going to be, enough of us are going to be on the same page.
I wish it's kind of the opposite of what you're saying, but I wish like the George Floyd movement had like continued. Like I think it's kind of like fizzled out. We don't see people like taking matters into their own hands like we did in 2020, 2021. That was I think a time when people were like, actually, we're really fed up with how things are going, and we're going to make you understand that we will be represented by any, to quote the great Malcolm X, by any means necessary.
Mm.
And there's a Bill Burr quote I really like.
He's
He-
my favorite.
yeah.
I fucking love Bill Burr.
He's the best. He actually made a thing recently, and he's like, you know why there's a pile of trash in the ocean the size of fucking Texas? It's because psychopaths run the world.
Yeah.
And he's like, and you know, you have nice people, and some of those nice people get loud, like Dr. King, but then they get killed,
Mm.
also by the CIA. But they get killed, and psychopaths continue to run shit because nice people are too nice to do anything about it. We all want to be good, and it's like I have this whole rant about like I'm not a like I used to love Batman, but something that Joker talks about with Batman in several iterations is he's like, if you really gave a fuck about Gotham, you would kill me,
Yeah.
but you don't give a fuck about Gotham. You just want someone to beat up because you're a sad orphan that needs to take his aggression out on people. And he's right. He's right. Like Batman doesn't care about Gotham. He cares about getting his rocks off, beating the shit out of people. And it's like you compare that with like Daredevil, or Punisher. Like Daredevil, he's a lawyer during the day, and he's trying to do things through the correct channels, but he's fully aware that it's super corrupt. So like when he has to, he will take justice into his own hands. And he will get justice like by any means necessary. Like he's usually against killing, but he's a very like fallible human character that like will do what needs to be done. And then you like on the far end, you have like Punisher, who's like, I'm just gonna kill everybody. And like if they're a fucking problem, I'm just gonna go remove the threat.
Punisher, man.
Yeah.
Frank Castle.
Frank Castle.
Bad motherfucker.
Yeah. And I'm like, I wish I wasn't here, but like at this place, but like I really don't see, like we haven't had a Boston Tea Party in a long time. We haven't policed our government in a long time. And it's like we're really overdue for a Boston Tea Party. Cordie's like, no,
No.
stop associating me with this.
Well, here's where I see like issue with that. So and we saw this a lot with COVID and stuff like that. I feel like it shifted to where like if Americans feel that they can protect themselves by any sort of means, whether it's owning a firearm or if they can protect their own and their family, like it's not a team movement like the Tea Party was, right? So like the way that I kind of see things, especially as an American, like protecting the core values of what it means to be free and stuff like that isn't specific to just me. It should be that everyone should feel freedom. Everyone should feel freedom equally and have the same opportunities and the equal rights and the things that were the original concept and idea of building this America as it was originally intended has been lost, I think. And it's a lot of that is driven by this, everyone has a voice now on social media and stuff like that, so it's very easy for individuals to take it to a selfish level, I think, and be like, well, this is the way I feel free and I'm okay to speak this way because I can protect my own and it's me and it's my life. It's very selfish. It's not like, hey, me, Cordie, and Alex, we might not all see things the same, but we all feel comfortable and free and this and that. It's like it's very divided, unfortunately. And that's like a big problem, and it's
I think that is not organic at all. Like I think that's the media and like Twitter put it like purposefully by design putting people against each other.
Of course.
Like we all could be on the same page, but that terrifies the powers that be. So they divide us over gender, they divide us over race, they divide us over religion, anything that isn't us versus them, which is like, and like you were talking about like protecting our core values, which I totally agree with you. And like freedom of speech, I think is the most important. And I'm you're not really for freedom of speech if you're only for freedom of your speech, right?
Yeah.
It's like you have to be willing to defend ideas you don't agree with to an extent, right? Like you should not defend them, but defend someone's right to say them with limits. But like you're not really pro freedom of speech if you're not willing to stand up for what someone else has to say, even if it's contradictory to what you believe.
Well,
right?
I feel like freedom of speech is not freedom from consequence. Like you can post it online, but that doesn't mean that people are going to respond well, or that they have to listen to you, or that they're going to like you. And you can't just go up into a private establishment, like say like a Nazi can't just go up in a punk show where there's like queer artists and other people playing and then start spewing their hateful rhetoric and not expect to get kicked the fuck out.
Yeah, and that's definitely not
freedom of speech.
That's definitely not what I'm saying. Like I'm talking about like legally, because there's plenty of things that are wrong to do that aren't illegal, and that's okay because we police them socially. We don't need the government to police this. For example, this is kind of a controversial one, but like I think a business owner should have the ability to deny someone business for any reason, even if that reason is bigoted. And here's why: the market will correct itself. If we all found out that there's someone super bigoted that runs a donut shop, we're not going to shop there. Not only that, we're going to boycott it. We're all going to get together and be like, hey, no one go there. And they will go out of business on their own. The government doesn't have to get involved in that.
I don't agree with that. Like if somebody is just coming up to your business and you don't like them because they're queer or they're a person of color and they haven't done anything but like order from you, you need to fucking serve them, or like maybe not be in the service industry.
Are you saying like a man with a gun should come make you
No,
serve
I'm
them?
saying that's just like literally the law. It doesn't have to be an extreme. Like
So if they
maybe
break
you
that
should
law,
lose
it's
your
like a fine?
business. Yeah,
Or-
it should be like a fine, and
Okay.
eventually you lose your business. Because hear me out. What you're
I think no
saying,
one's
the
gonna go
community will
there.
police itself. That's a lot of faith. But what if somebody lives in like a rural town and like essentially everybody in that town is highly conservative and you're the only outcast
I
there?
guess
Then
that's true.
what are you gonna do? Like, can you shop anywhere? You got to go to Walmart if they have a Walmart. But a lot of smaller towns don't have like those
like
amenities.
you can't discriminate.
And you can't just
You
be like,
make
you
a
need to
good
go
point.
somewhere else where people,
I guess I'm
think
looking
like
at this
you.
from like a Nashville like city point of view, where it's like this is gonna fizzle out on its own because they're just not gonna be able to drum up enough business. But if it's a small town where that is the majority view, I guess that does become a bigger problem at
And
that
it
point.
goes both ways, you know, a Proud Boy walks into a bar, doesn't fight anybody, doesn't say shit, but like he's got his ugly little patches on, like just drink your beer and go, dude, but like don't talk to me.
Mhm.
Yeah. And like the example of someone being a dick, like, and not a business owner, but someone just coming in and uh for any reason
Being disorderly, being a Karen, like if you make a scene, then you need to leave, but you can't police someone's identity, you know, and deny them service.
Well, okay, like example, if there's someone in the music scene here that is like is bigoted and is saying a bunch of awful things or doing a bunch of awful things, no one's going to play shows with them. They're not going to get invited to do things. That kind of polices itself. You know what I mean? Where it's like, we don't have to get the government involved. We can handle that ourselves. I'm so anti-government that I'm like, they fuck up everything they do. Like everything they've ever tried has been a disaster. And it's like, if we can just not get them involved, like I'm very much like, I don't call the police. I'll just handle this shit myself because it's not going to help. It's going to complicate matters. Whereas like it could be so much simpler if we all just look out for each other as a community and police each other, like police the the vibe police.
The vibe police are coming. Vibe check, bitch. Yo, your fucking Nikes are scuffed up. You don't pass the vibe check. Get the fuck out of
What are
here.
No cap, for real.
No, but dude,
Holy
you know what I hate to see, and I've been seeing it a lot over the past few years in Nashville, is like tourists that come in. And like, dude, like I love tourists. I think it's great. We live in a place where everyone wants to come. That's a very exciting thing, right? They stoke the economy. They're curious about what's going on here. You know, you get a lot of folks from Europe, you get a lot of people from coast and, you know, coast to coast, or it's a lot of folks though, unfortunately, that come from small-minded places that come to Nashville to kind of like tote that, right? So like on Broadway especially, you get a lot of like, not to like, you know, I'm not saying a lot of all these people are like this, but like a lot of like boomer, like Midwest people that are very small-minded that come to Nashville with this expectation that like that's what we do here and that's how we are, and they're allowed to just have a fucking bigoted parade. And it's like, it's so not like that down here, you know, and a majority of us do not feel that way and don't appreciate that. And it's just like, it kind of makes you sick to your stomach. Like, dude, first of all, this is like Music City. Like, you're coming up in here with your fucking like protect AR-15 gun owners' rights t-shirts and whatnot, and this, that, the other thing. And it's like, dude, you're like making a statement in a place where it's like, you think it's okay to, but it's like, it's really like not, bro. Like, it's like, dude, this isn't what this
Nashville's
is about.
extremely progressive.
It's like, you're on vacation, take a fucking break, dude. Calm the fuck down, drink your fucking Coors Light.
You're not a soldier. Like, you're not. What are you doing?
You're not talking about Coors Light like that.
Yeah, you like Coors, man. I'm a Miller guy.
Midwest of you.
But it's yeah, you know, and it's just weird, man. You know, coming up, you know, being from like New York and shit, like, you know, most people are progressive where I'm from, you know. But here's the thing, like, dude, I feel, you know, the way I stand on politics, and I wish more Americans felt this way. And unfortunately, I think because we're so divided now, people pick a side and stick to it no matter what. If there was a cool-headed Republican that was a professional politician running for office, like, I would for sure consider those options, you know, the same way I consider voting Democrat or whatever, you know. And it's like, I feel like people are so afraid of whatever consequences they feel are going to happen if like they agree with a party that doesn't align with the people around them in their particular scene, no matter what it is.
That's not my favorite sports team. That's the other sports team.
Dude, hell yeah, man. Fucking, I mean, dude, my favorite athlete left my favorite football team. I'm not going to root for the goddamn Jets. And I'm from New York.
You know, that's okay because it's sports, but you know, when it's left and blue, I mean left and red, or left and right, blue and red, it's like that's we're not talking about sports anymore. Like it's like you kind of need to like put a little more thought in, like than just my team or my team.
I think the perfect candidate does exist, and maybe they're not a political professional, but you know how somebody makes a joke enough times, it's like, oh, you're not joking, you mean that if you keep making the same joke.
Right.
And we've all joked about this, but we're not kidding. Like, everybody wants Dolly for president.
I would vote for Dolly.
Both sides want Dolly for president.
That, you know what, Dolly Parton could be a great
She
president.
could be president. She
I
could be our first female president.
I'm about it. Team Dolly.
I just wouldn't want to see that sweet lady
Yeah.
have to go through all that
You
trouble.
make a good point.
You know, the poor thing. She
Yeah.
should be protected.
I mean, I'm interested in Kennedy in this upcoming election. I just because again, I hate the fucking government. You tell a joke enough times, it becomes the truth. I'm just kidding. I hate the government. I don't hate the government, but I do. Like, so anytime that the media is like, we don't like this guy, I'm like, oh, well, I'm interested in this character now. Why do you hate him so much? Established media. Why does the government hate this person? It's like, well, maybe they are interested in America. And I think Kennedy has a lot of family ties, right? It's like he has a chance of winning, I think, because people know the name. And he kind of represents this counterculture of like anti-establishment, which is like a rising sentiment on both sides right now. I don't think I'm alone in being fed up with shit. And you know, like Kennedy's getting old, and I don't agree with everything he has to say either. But just not being part of the status quo, which you know maybe that's a super psyop, and he's like he's actually CIA or something, and it's like I'm gonna fill this spot like controlled opposition, like Sorry to Bother You. You guys seen that?
No.
Oh man, it's so good. I won't rant about Sorry to Bother You, but yeah, it anyway. Um, yeah, I think he has a chance of winning. He's running Democrat, which I mean, I'd definitely take him over like Biden or whoever the fuck else they. I don't even know who the DNC could possibly put put up. Like, I think they're gonna run Biden again, which I mean, like, is interesting choice. Weird flex, but okay. Yeah. Anyway,
I often wondered, you know, what would it take to make everybody happy?
oh, I don't think that's
you
possible.
can.
It's just
like
impossible.
everybody has a different
Yeah.
idea of
You know?
happiness. There's no utopia.
It would make me happy, which isn't everybody, but if we got represented, like our tax money actually went to things that benefited people, what benefited the earth,
Yeah.
right? Like green. Uh, but greed is like on paper, communism's cool until you like try it, because greed and like human error is a factor, which makes it an impossible pipe dream, where it's like you cannot pull this off because people are fallible. Like people will not distribute things equally. Every time it's been tried, it's like the people at the top just end up taking a slice off the top. And it's like, so in theory, this works. And in a small community, it works. Like you can have a commune, and it's like that is a self-sustaining thing where it's like Will has a bunch of tomatoes, I have a bunch of potatoes. It's like we can make a trade here, and it's like we just support each other. Or like Cordie doesn't have any tomatoes. It's like you can just have some. I have the surplus. Like
Thank you. That's nice.
you're welcome. You're very welcome.
I don't know why I have no farming skills here, but after it,
I think a lot of it comes down to respect for one
Yeah.
another too, and that's another thing that I feel has been lost. You know, just kind of having, you know, respect for the way people choose to do what they do, and it's like, you know, of course, everything to some degree, right? But like, you know, I don't know, man. Would you say you guys are very competitive people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm also a very
Yes, but
collaborative
no.
person.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I'm competitive. I'm also cooperative.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think those are the best, you know, when you're going towards a goal with somebody, to be cooperative is like the one thing that it really takes, you know, understanding, cooperation, respect, trust, you know, letting go of control, things of that nature that,
Yeah.
you know, so.
Something me and Cordie were talking about the other day. I'm a very like I don't really do like passive aggressive. Like I'm very combative. Like if I see a problem, I address it. Like if I'm like picking up that like someone's like not vibing with me, I'll like address that. It's like, hey, are we good? Like, I'm confrontational in the sense that if I see a problem, I want to fix it.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. Maybe I'm too confrontational sometimes, but
Well, I think that it's okay to be I'm kind of with you on that. I spoke with my therapist recently about something, and he was explaining to me that there's really two types of people in conflicts or really in life. And it's like pursuer, avoidant. So like if somebody is an avoidant person, they might be passive aggressive or not really say what's bothering them, which is just as bad as someone who's a pursuer going after somebody who's avoiding an issue combatively, right? So like it's hard. A lot of people don't like confrontation. I for one, I fucking cannot stand. I don't like a couple of things. I don't like having my balls busted. I don't like fucking passive aggressiveness, and I certainly do not like sarcasm. I think that they all kind of fall in the same thing. And like when I notice that someone's being like that with me, like I'll flat out be like, "Let me ask you a question. You got a fucking problem with me? You want to talk about this? You know, because we can talk about this, or you can keep pissing me off, and I'm gonna fucking go crazy on your ass." Like, so
that's I think that's how people should handle things. But I guess not everyone sees it like that.
yeah.
Yeah. I think communication is key. Like if we can talk about what's holding us up, it's like, oh, actually, it wasn't as big of a deal as we thought. And it's like we could all get along if we could address those things. But people get scared of that, of talking about the things that are bothering them.
Especially when they find somebody else who's also bothered by the same thing. And now it's like they're talking about and they're getting all revved up. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
Like we're talking about some pretty controversial things right now. And it's like obviously you guys probably agree with me on some things, but a lot of things like not on the same page about. But I mean, we're having a civil conversation about it. Like it's not a problem. We're just trying to. I think okay. So you're talking about competition, like versus cooperating. Whenever I'm like presenting an idea I have, like about how to fix things, for example, I'm not trying to change anyone's mind, not trying to change Alice's mind or y'all's minds. I'm just presenting what I'm thinking so that you guys can present what you're thinking, and together we can arrive at the truth, right? Instead of like looking at it like a debate, like I'm going to try and convince this person that I'm right, because oftentimes I'm not right. Like oftentimes I need to be corrected, and I'm not going to know how I need to be corrected unless we talk about it.
I feel like being competitive, it can be a good thing and a bad thing. It's like nuanced. You can look at it one way, like someone could say, well, I'm going to be better than them, or somebody that's just like, I'm just going to be the best. I'm not really like looking at all of y'all and what you're doing,
Right.
because it's not in competition with me. We're not doing the same thing. We're different people. Same as, an argument is deciding who is right, and a discussion is deciding what is right.
That's absolutely, yeah.
It's how you come at it.
I like that.
And what your goal is.
Yeah, it's not an argument, it's a discussion.
Yeah, because I'd be willing to say that 9 times out of 10 there is no wrong or right. What is really the truth?
We talked about that last week.
There's
very few objective truths and right and wrongs.
I think like the objective truths are like physics, where it's like that is true. Like 1 + 1 is 2.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Science, math. Dude, one of my favorite things to see as an outsider, I hate being in a situation like this, and we all have, but like I love observing two people or a group of people where like one person is really wrong about something, but they're fighting for their goddamn life to prove this point. Like, bro, no, you're fucking not listening. You're wrong. No, that did happen. Like that. To see that go down is one of the funniest fucking things to me. And I see it all the time working in a bar or whatever. You see people like, dude, it's just hilarious seeing somebody get so worked up. Like, I love to see it. Like, it cracks me up. Like, I don't know why. It's like watching like a real life sitcom or like TV conflict, and it's like, dude.
I think the problem is, like I grew up super religiously. We've talked about it before,
yeah.
But one of the biggest problems there in society, like what you're describing, is dogmatism, where it's like, this is my team. I'm team gun. I'm team not gun. And it's like, I'm all in on this. And if you say anything against that, fuck you. Like you're when you say that thing about this thing that I disagree with, you're attacking me personally. It's like it's a religion. Like you're attacking my God. Like I identify as a follower of this God. So if you say anything negative about that, you're attacking, it's a personal attack. And it's like it becomes an emotional thing at that point. Or like sports teams, which sports teams like it's not a big deal because we're just talking about sports. It's not we're not, we're not talking about religion. We're not talking about politics. You can be like unreasonable about the Tennessee Volunteers. Like, no, they're gonna fucking win, and that's my fun. Don't talk shit about it. That's my team. Like, that's fun. That's all in good sport. And but like we can't be that tribal about like world issues. Like,
I feel like also it's tricky because nobody wants to be convinced or influenced or had their mind changed, especially by a stranger or somebody that they're not that close to. I mean, I feel like we all have our own ideals and we put a lot of thought into coming to those. They're shaped through things we've learned and our experiences. So they're kind of near and dear to our heart. So for somebody to not even try to get to know you or understand your perspective, but to want you to take theirs, like I totally understand. Like you can't change somebody's mind before you establish trust with them and let them see that you have a human connection. Like I used to go to a really redneck karaoke bar, and for a minute there, I'm sure they thought that I was that weird, like, harlot with like a pentagram, the devil worshiper on my skirt, because they don't know. But when you spend time with somebody and you just like show them, hey, this is who I am as a person, eventually you can get away with kneeling during the national anthem and not getting kicked out of that place because they're like, we like that girl. She's pretty chill. She's wrong, but and that's how it starts. You have to meet people where they're at as a person and leave that shit out. Like give a damn about them, and then they'll care what you think.
it comes back to like the cooperative versus like competition. It's
Yeah.
like people are actually really good at this if they want to. Like I work in sales, and it's like I don't talk to everyone exactly the same way. It's like I know how this guy's gonna want to be approached. He's gonna want to be called sir, so I'm gonna be like very like formal, like this is a businessman, like he's here on behalf of his company, like, or like this guy is older, but he's like laid back, and he's not gonna want to. He just wants to like have like a first name basis kind of communication, and it's like you can figure these things out about someone immediately, like, um, and like you can formulate if it's sales, you can formulate a pitch. If it's like not sales, like you can find a common ground with someone really fast if you're looking to do that. But if you're looking to like, I don't like the way that person's presenting themselves and I want to change that. It's like that's combative. That's not, you're not cooperating on being friends.
Yeah, they're just gonna dig their heels in more.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Doesn't it feel so good to like let your guard down and learn something new from somebody that you maybe initially disagreed with?
Yeah, man. One of
Yeah.
my favorite things to do on this show is talk to people that I disagree with.
Oh yeah.
I love being wrong because I'm very much a pessimist. Like the things I think are true make me depressed, where it's like I wish I didn't see it this way. Like if you guys see another way, let me know, because like it's not, I'm not happy about the way I'm perceiving things.
Well, hope is a big thing too.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's been lost on us as a society. To be hopeful, to be optimistic, but also, within the confines of being a realist at the same time. And to have hope is what keeps people going, to have faith that something is going to work, to believe in something that it's going to work, much like with our art, it's like you got to believe if you're trying to receive, you know what I mean? Like, and that's a big thing. And it's, sometimes, and then you experience the beauty of what happens when you believe in something and it becomes a truth or a reality. And it's like, wow, like that is one of the most mind blowing experiences. And I feel like you can only experience that if you have a hopeful outlook, but you can't be like, the happy go lucky, like everything's going to be great. I'm going to manifest the success. Is that like, there's a limit to everything. I really think, because there are some days where I'm like, dude, fuck this shit. I'm selling my guitars. I'm closing up shop. Fuck this band. Fuck this music shit. I'm done. And it's like, those moments don't always happen. They're very far and few between, but like, they do happen because that's
Mhm.
normal too, and you can't feed into that negative energy like that either. And you know, it's you got to maintain hope.
Yeah.
You know that I call it the suffering will eventually end.
And we really like we live in the world we perceive, right? So it's
Mhm.
like if you dwell on all this stuff, then it's a reality. But it's like there is a lot of really great things about life too.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I have some great friends that I can discuss, you know,
damn right.
kind of like things that are hard for me, you know, like this has been healthy talking to you. It's
Yeah,
therapeutic.
it's great, dude.
And like there's a lot of great music.
Oh yeah.
Things are going well for my friends, like making moves. And we're all building each other up, man. And there's a lot to be happy about. And I think you know, maybe there are aliens on the moon controlling people and stealing our gold. Maybe the government is rigged against us, but also there's a lot of great art coming out. Technology is at an all-time high, which kind of, in theory, makes a better quality of life. So yeah, let's end on a happy note. Uh, you know, look on the bright side of things, even though it's not all good. We just got to take the good with the bad.
Or look on the dark side of things, like the moon.
Look on the dark side of the moon. Yeah.
Look on the dark side of the moon. Alice, go up there and take pictures and send it back to us.
Just look at all sides.
As Pink Floyd said, and if the band you're in starts playing different tunes, I'll see you on the dark side of the moon.
Will, Cordie, thank you all for being here today. This has been a lot of fun.
Absolute pleasure being on the podcast, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, of course. Catch Sleeper Signal August 25th at the 8th Room with Hungry and Dangerous. More music coming out later this year.
Yeah. We might even crack off a few new songs at that gig if we're ready for it. Yeah, which would be exciting for me because we've been, you know, that's the goal, you know, new content, new stuff, new feedback from people, you know, so that should be fun.
And then this is like the fourth time I've asked you, but you have some show dates coming up.
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, August 4th at the East Room.
Yeah.
It's really pop punk. It'll be fun.
Yes, check out Hussy Fit, check out Sleeper Signal. These are some of my best friends. I love having you guys on. And we'll see you next week.